What is a war? In last 100 years, almost 300 wars were fought. Almost 3 wars per year. This is insanity. This is madness. And when the actual war was not happening, the rest of the time was spent preparing for the war. What's the difference between animal and man? Animal exists, but it doesn't know that it exists. The big jump of consciousness came from animals to the man. The man is also an animal with a little difference, but it's a big difference that it also is aware that it exists. This big shift in the consciousness was the seed for development of the ego. Animals only exist and they have natural instincts for survival, but that's not ego. Humans not only are aware of their body, but they are aware that they exist. Once the idea of existence comes, also the idea of death comes. Because this existence can be taken away. So all the things that man does wants to preserve and wants to preserve the body, but all his other belongings, possessions, people, objects, situations, everything. And that comprises the ego. Ego is a lot older than you think. The bush people had started showing the ego. Even animals like chimpanzees and gorillas had groups and protecting each other and killing the other groups had started showing up even before the arrival of humans. And now the ego has reached to its height, using the body, using the mind, and the intelligence and intellect. All these things have created more and more possessions. The world is divided into different factions, different countries, different beliefs, different ideas, different religions. All these things have filtered down to the individual level in the human mind. And yet, this is only a product of the mind. Man is still the same animal, but the mind has progressed so much. Ego is not something that you can dissect the body and find out. You cannot pull it out of the body, but it does exist. And it's all about your ego, your possessions, your identifications with your body. First, the body is identified as yourself. Then everything in relationship with that also becomes your possessions. So even if the actual wars are not happening, our day-to-day life is controlled with this ego. Ego is your same consciousness that at one time was flowing freely without being converted into the ego. Your ego and my ego are two separate things. Only because we have solidified our pure, pristine consciousness into individual beliefs, thoughts, ideas. And this hardened consciousness has turned into ego and individuality. For an individual progress, individuality is necessary, but it also becomes the cause of development of the egos, and egos fight. If the major wars are discounted, minor wars have become a way of life for human beings. The difference between you and me is not just physical anymore, it's also mental. Our thoughts, ideas, beliefs differ. And this alone becomes the cause of the war. Now granted, in a civilized society, we may not attack each other physically. Even that actually happens. People kill each other for their personal beliefs, but in a day-to-day life, you don't see it. But at an individual level, at the mind level, fights are still going on. And these fights are the wars of the egos. Husband and wife trying to change each other. That's the war of the ego. Parents trying to change the children, and children trying to change the parents. Friends trying to change friends. Religious organizations trying to brainwash people so that their personal benefits are gained. Their organizations get bigger. In the name of money, fame, recognitions, the egos have become more and more crooked and devilish. From morning till night, and even in sleep, we are fighting these wars. And the weapons we have for this are our thoughts, our beliefs and ideas. We are stubborn. We hold on to these ideas. And it just was not enough that we called our body as ours. We became synchronized with these ideas also. We call ourselves Hindu. There is nothing like Hinduism. It's a concept. Or Christianity, or Muslim. And millions of people have died in these stupid ideas only. Husband trying to change wife, wife trying to change husbands. All these ideas are part of your ego. Ego wants to expand. And when somebody accepts your idea, you become happy. Ego gets bigger. Ego wants to get bigger. Ego wants to expand. Ego wants to impress the whole world that you are something. In this process, the whole life goes. And the life of bickering, fighting, stress, anxiety, grief, all these have become part of daily life. If this is all we're gonna do, the life is doomed. Nothing but suffering. We are the children of wars, and we are the warriors of the wars also. It has to stop at some point. Occasional souls come and they go deeper within and they analyze what they have hidden within their mind and how it is responsible for these sufferings of life. Mahavir, Buddha, they showed us the path by going within. They studied their mind. Mind is nothing but solidified consciousness. Consciousness can freely flow. The flow of consciousness is continuous, without stopping anywhere. Like wind. Wind comes, touches this tree, that plant, that flower, that bee, that grass, but leaves anyway. The consciousness has been steadily present throughout your life and the lives before and the lives to come. Just the way your ego has transcended you. You think your ego is yours. Think again. Ego has been there for millions of years, since the higher forms of animals started, like chimpanzees and monkeys, and then it filtered into the humans, and now we see the results of this. So ego is ancient, and you think ego is yours. You will come and go, ego will survive into your next life. So this deep-rooted problem with the mind had to be analyzed. And that's exactly what Buddha and Mahavir did. They realized that our ideas, our beliefs, our thoughts are solidifications of this consciousness in the wrong direction. The whole concept that we have is wrong. We exist, yes, but we are that, meaning the body and the mind is false. There is a consciousness that is higher than these false beliefs. And the people on the spiritual path, they think of only one thing: how to transcend the ego. Ego is your weapon. Ego is the knife that you have tied onto your waistband. It can come out and hurt another person at given moment, any second. We are walking around with our egos. We blame others, but we never realize that ego is here. It is within our body, within our mind, and we need to do something about it. Every life we come in, we are born with forgetting that ego, but ego surfaces sooner or later and gets more stronger and stronger. Meditation is a process of realizing the weapons that you're carrying. And these weapons are something that you're using on a day-to-day basis to attack people verbally at the mind level. So Mahavir says, violence exists not just at the physical level, but also at the speech level. You can hurt others, and at your mind level, you can hurt others. The perception of the differences among and with others is because of this ego. Ego wants to be separate, and that is the only way to expand. If it merges, there is no room to expand. The friendship and congeniality is the death of the ego. Ego is always there to make you realize that you are better than others, you are stronger than others, you are bigger than others, you are more richer than others. It thrives in these differences, the dualities. As long as you have those in your mind, you are not free from the ego. When you try to tell others what's wrong with them, try to analyze yourself first, what you have. Are you happy or are you suffering? If suffering is there, your ego is there. So, analyzing your own ego with the full awareness in meditation and full consciousness with just the awareness of the parade of thoughts. Thoughts are the building blocks of the ego. Watch those building blocks. Don't do anything. Don't even try to analyze. Don't try to criticize yourself. Don't try to praise yourself. Just be a witness. And the ego starts loosening. What happens if the ego dissolves? The peace comes. The joy comes. At ego level, you have identified yourself with the roles in the society. A doctor, pharmacist, engineer, whatever. But without these identifications, which are nothing but the thoughts, which are nothing but solidified consciousness, and you realize that you could have been engineer, or at the split second you change your mind and you become a doctor. These things are not real. Your inner consciousness ultimately got solidified by continuous exposure to the medical field and your practice and your patience and the journals you read. All these things creates you, but that is just compounding of your thoughts, solidified consciousness. Ultimately, it's your inner consciousness that is pristine and it is undifferentiated, gets differentiated into these roles. But we are stuck up in the roles. We are stuck up in these identifications, and we believe this is all we are. And this is our ignorance. So through meditation, if you can go within and identify these building blocks of the ego and just watch. And in this moment, you break away from it. The age-old, solidified ego melts, and what comes out of it is a beautiful flowing consciousness, not localizing itself to any roles. Freedom from protecting yourself. Freedom from being afraid of threats from others. Freedom from condemning others, changing others. These are our full-time activities. Consciousness means freedom from all and plunging into the vast stream of life that has given rise to millions of creatures. And in all these creatures, the consciousness has penetrated, has manifested as different creatures, different roles, different egos, egos are also one of the modifications of the consciousness. So go within, transcend this ego, and live a life of peace. When ego ends, wars end. When ego ends, bickering ends. When ego ends, suffering ends. Differentiations of you and me ends. And the Paramatma, the consciousness, flows. Bathe in it and stay in it 24/7. Be aware of your daily life. Be aware of your consciousness all the time. Stay in the full state of alertness and do not let that consciousness slide down into the ego, because ego-driven life is the suffering. Beyond this ego-driven life is the life of consciousness, full of peace and joy. Have a good day. This will be our New Year resolution. Have a good day.